Welcome into Saints Now by Chat Sports. My name is Trace Girouard. I have a question for you, Saints fans. Is it inevitable? Is it inevitable that Hunter Renfrow will be wearing the black and gold this year? Because the Raiders are moving on from the wide receiver out of Clemson, and it feels like he is a New Orleans Saint. So I just want to ask you this question. Would you sign Hunter Renfrow? Just give me an S for sign or a P for pass. I'm going to give you my thoughts here in just a second, but this is your turn to share your thoughts, sound off in the comment section, and let me know what you think. Today's show is presented by Prize Picks, and I want to talk a little bit more about Hunter Renfrow here in just a second, but Prize Picks is daily fantasy sports made easy. You just pick two or more players, choose more or less based on their projected stats, and you can go win some big time money. It's my favorite way to start off the day. I open up the Prize Picks app every single morning. I'm looking to throw down some projections and win real money in real time. It's so easy. It's so much fun. And honestly, it's helped me learn a little bit more about, some of the sports I may not watch all the time. I want to get really invested in the MLB season this year. I love the Texas Rangers. I grew up here in Texas. Shout out to them for finally winning a World Series. So Adolis Garcia, I'm taking the more on 32.5 home runs. Trey Turner, 27.5 stolen bases. Give me the more on that. And Juan Soto, give me the more on 35.5 home runs for the player in San Diego. I think that this would be a really fun way to make some money, keep me invested throughout the entire MLB season because it is a long year. But this can help me stay connected to the teams and connected to the players that I'm interested in. So go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Plug in promo code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. Shout out to Prize Picks. It's daily fantasy sports made easy. Now let's talk about Hunter Renfrow as a player because I think that he could bring some value to the New Orleans Saints. He does have chemistry and he does have history with Derek Carr. And I'll tell you what, he had this nickname in Vegas when Carr was around, Third and Renfro. This guy kept drives alive. He kept the Raiders offense on the field on multiple occasions, and you see the production on your screen. He's a good player. Wasn't utilized correctly last year. Had a lot of quarterback issues between Jimmy Garoppolo and Aiden O'Connell. I mean, it was just a really weird situation. Now, why I'm talking about Hunter Renfrow is because I believe that Michael Thomas will be released today or tomorrow. I think it will be today because at 4 p.m., that's when the new league year starts, and they have 3 days until 3 days afterwards to get him off the books. Otherwise, he's going to cost the Saints about $119 million guaranteed. So that's something that the Saints are going to avoid. I think it happens today, and if that does happen today, here's a look at what the wide receiver depth chart is going to be. That's it. 3 guys. Those are your pass catchers outside of your tight ends and Alvin Kamara. So you clearly need to add a wide receiver, whether it's draft, free agency. You're going to need to bring in a handful. And on top of that, you're going to be able to bring in some UDFAs and some other players to compete for roster spots late in the draft and kind of in the offseason. But this is what you have right now. So in terms of Renfro to the boot, I think that it does make some sense. You just saw the wide receiver depth chart. It needs to be filled out. There is not a lot of depth in that room. If one person gets hurt, offense is done. They won't run with 3 people, obviously. But it's a good 3 wide receivers to build that foundation. Chris Olave, we know what he can do. He is electric. He is dynamic, and he is a damn good football player. Rashid Shaheed, the need for speed, good Lord, just let him run goes. Every freaking play. Not really, but he's a speedster, and he is really, really good. And he's come a long way in terms of being a wide receiver for the Saints. A.T. Perry as well. Jump ball specialist. It seems like every single time the ball is near him, he's making a big play. And like I mentioned earlier, Derek Carr and Hunter Renfrow, they do have great chemistry, and there's familiarity there. And in terms of what Hunter Renfrow was able to do in his career with Derek Carr, over 200 receptions, 2,500 yards, and 16 touchdowns. That's really good production for a quarterback and wide receiver duo. Now, in terms of whether I would want to bring in Hunter Renfrow, my take is I don't mind it. I don't hate the addition. I think it would be a smart addition, but do not pay him the king's ransom. Do not give him the keys to the kingdom. Do not pay him a ton of money. If you ask me, I think like a 3-year, $6 million guaranteed every year. Like, let's say 3 years, $20 million. Now, actually, yes. 3 years, $20 million. Let's say 15 of that is guaranteed. So you're guaranteeing $5 million a year for a wide receiver that has chemistry, that has familiarity with your quarterback, gives him a safety blanket on top of having Foster Moore around, on top of Taysom Hill, on top of Juwan Johnson, on top of Kendre Miller, on top of Alvin Kamara, on top of Jamal Williams. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, I think would be a good move, but I just don't want to pay him prime money. So lock us in, Saints fans. We are currently live on Saints Now by Chat Sports, breaking down NFL free agency and every single move that happens. So I encourage you to subscribe so you don't miss a thing. If you want to hang out with us, come join us. We're probably still kicking it. We'll be here late into the evening. But on top of that, we're going to give you guys daily rumors, news, updates, live shows every single week. And throughout the regular season and the playoffs, I'm telling you what, we have the most fun across the internet. So I encourage you to subscribe, join our squad, so that way you don't miss a thing around your New Orleans Saints. All right, so now it's time to discuss, is a big-time free agent signing coming? Is a big-time free agent headed to New Orleans? Because per over the cap, I looked at the numbers this morning. I'm old enough to remember when they were $80 million over the cap. Now, got $15 million in cap space. We went to bed yesterday. They had about one. They restructured Ryan Ramczyk's contract to create some more space, $15 million in cap space for the New Orleans Saints. Now, we have this graphic for you. I want to just make a quick comment here. Khalil Mack, he's sticking around with the Los Angeles Chargers. That is news that came in during the filming of this video, so we didn't have time to change the graphic. No worries there, though. I would replace Khalil Mack with maybe Joey Bosa. Maybe they can't pay him. I don't know. Who knows what's going on there? Mike Williams has been released by the Los Angeles Chargers, and Keenan Allen is another guy that they could look to offload because the Chargers have a lot of money to clear out. They're still about $25 million over the cap, which is no bueno when you're trying to spend some money and win a Super Bowl, especially for new head coach Jim Harbaugh. But on top of that, we discussed this yesterday. Chase Young is visiting with the New Orleans Saints. He has visited with the New Orleans Saints. He has scheduled visits with New Orleans, the Panthers, and the Titans during NFL free agency. Now, in terms of my top targets, I would have loved Khalil Mack. It would have been so much fun to bring him in. However, you would have had to pay him a lot of money. This is a guy who had 17 sacks last year, 21 tackles for loss, and 10 pass breakups. The fact that he's still putting those kind of numbers up is incredible to me. However, I like the idea of bringing in Chase Young. I've kind of thought about it. It does feel like a high-risk, high-reward situation. Colin, real quick, just kick me full screen because I just got some thoughts to share. I think that going with Chase Young is a good move. I think that he could bring another element to the defense that did lack sack production last year. The number 2 sack leader was a linebacker in Demario Davis. The number 3 sack leader for the Saints, rookie defensive tackle Brian Brzee. I don't mind that. I like seeing the rookie be top 3 in sacks, but I want to see more. I want to see more. I'm sorry that I'm greedy, giggity big time, but I like sacks. I'm sorry. I want my team to get a lot of sacks. Don't shoot the messenger. I want my team to be productive on the defensive side of the ball, stop drives, because so many times it felt like the New Orleans Saints were in a position where they were creating pressure. They were getting to the quarterback, but they just didn't finish their dinner. Carl Granderson led the team in sacks last year, which was awesome to see. He did have some really good games throughout the 2023 season. However, you need to get better. You need to get more dynamic. You need to be more productive. And I think Chase Young could bring some of that. Now, of course, there is the risk, the reward. There's issues in terms of maybe he has a lack of effort. He got benched during the playoff run for San Francisco last year. I totally understand that. And what I do fear, this could be like a Marcus Davenport 2.0 signing. However, put it this way, Chase Young was the 2020 Defensive Rookie of the Year. I don't want to sit here and say that should make him a bunch of money, but the fact that he was able to do that not too long ago, to me, says that he can still be a talented player. He's shown flashes. He's dynamic. He's fast. He's aggressive. He's strong. Maybe it's a good move. But you tell me, Saints fans, who should New Orleans sign next? Do you want it to be a pass rusher, an offensive lineman? I'll tell you what, a name I really like, John Feliciano, the offensive guard, played really well for San Francisco and filling in for some injuries across the offensive line. He has familiarity with new OC Clint Kubiak. I think that would be a really excellent addition on the offensive side of the ball. Now, Like I said a little bit ago, Saints fans, I encourage you to subscribe and lock us in. That way you never miss a thing around your New Orleans Saints. If we have any sort of updates come through, I'm going to put out a short, I'm going to put out a video, maybe even go live for some of this stuff. So I encourage you to subscribe, lock us in today, and don't miss out. Y'all stay golden. We'll see you next time.